Good morning, guys. Today's sermon is going to be just a little different. I did not sleep last night. I maybe got about 3 hours of sleep. So y'all get to watch a pretty little video instead of my face today. But I, just like always, waited until the last minute to write the sermon. And I decided to write it today about false light. Because I caught a video yesterday from someone. It came across my For You page. It only had, 10, 15 likes on it. But this person was ranting about how we should no longer be wishing good into the world. And I caught myself for a minute because I thought, okay, well, what? And then I thought, let me see where she's going with this. Maybe she has a point, right? Maybe she has a point, right? She did have a point. But her point was that we should wish for destruction. And it has bothered me ever since. It has bothered me ever since. And then I came across another live where there was someone that was, they were talking to a spirit box, truly believing that was God. And I had to catch myself for a minute because I thought, they got to be kidding. They weren't kidding. And those two things have bothered me all night. I laid there with insomnia raging, thinking about these two things. So today's sermon is all about false light and the war for discernment. And if you're in my classes, then if you're in one of my classes, we talked about false beings, false light beings in the astral yesterday. And this kind of flows in with that because if you haven't realized at this point, we have been full on in massive spiritual warfare for a long time. In my opinion, since the 40s. In my opinion, since World War II. That there was something that was opened up, and we have been in the midst of massive spiritual warfare ever since. So before I get started, I want you guys to we're all going to take a deep breath. Because I want everybody's head on their shoulders. Correct, full, solid, before we start talking about this. So I want you just feel your feet on the ground, feel your feet in your shoes, feel your hands on, rub your hands together, feel your own energy. And I want you to feel the breath go in and out of your lungs. And I'm sure that scared the shit out of you because it scared shit out of me. We're all fully in our body right now, right? And I think that's funny because the next line I have written down is we are living in a time where everything is loud. Where everything is loud, just like that was. Everything is loud. Everyone is so certain of everything. Everyone is convinced. Everyone believes that they are right. Everyone believes that they are doing the right thing. And yet, just like throughout all of the rest of history, so much damage is being done just in the name of good, right? Just in the name of good. Let that sink in. Today we're not talking about darkness in some obvious form. We're not talking about the cruelty that comes in and says, yo, I'm going to be hateful right now. I'm going to be cruel right now. We're not talking about anything that ever announces itself. Today we're talking about something that is, in my opinion, far more dangerous. Far more dangerous. We're talking about false light. And when I start talking about this, every one of you guys is going to have something ping in your memory from the last week, 2 weeks, year, 2 years. Every one of you. Because this is the kind of light that wears the mask of righteousness. This is the kind of light that speaks the language of justice and truth and protection and love. But yet every single thing that it touches is poisoned. Every single thing that it touches crumbles. Every single thing that it touches is obliterated. And the thing is, this sermon today is not about fear. It's not about trying to scare you. It's not about any of that, because that's not the point. The point is about clarity. It's about you having clarity, you parting all that fog and seeing through the fog. Because false light doesn't feel evil. False light doesn't feel evil. It doesn't. That's the problem. False light feels justified. False light feels urgent. It feels morally superior. It feels like it is the right thing. It feels like it is the right thing. False light says, oh, I'm doing this for the greater good. I have no choice but to fix this. False light also says, if you don't agree with me, you're the problem. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, if you don't agree with what I'm doing, if you don't agree with all of this stuff, then you are the problem. You are broken. You are the reason, blah, 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 blah. False light will convince people that being right matters more than being humane. That intent matters more than the outcome ever will. False light convinces you that the destruction that's coming is absolutely acceptable, as long as that banner above it bears holy marks. False light doesn't ask who is being harmed. Who would have the worst time? Who would take the most damage? Who would be really, really pressed? Who would be downtrodden? Who would be damaged if I did this? Instead, it asks, how fast can I win? How fast can I win if I do X, Y, Z? And the thing is, I'm not even just talking about the political climate. I'm not even just talking about the world. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about in spirituality in general. And I want you guys to start there, because that right there has been the root of all of this since time began. And here's the thing that I want you to remember. And this is something that gets really, really hard, no matter what side you're on, is that evil rarely starts with evil intentions. Rarely. Rarely. It starts with a desire to protect. It starts with a desire to fix. It starts with a desire to stop pain. It starts with a desire to make things better. It starts with a desire for change, for good, right? But that's where the false light comes in. When you don't have discernment, when you don't have that voice of morality, of reason, or maybe you just don't listen to it. Because after you have that desire, then you get that whisper. Your anger at that is absolutely justified. Your cruelty to that person or that group of people is justified because they're not falling into line. It's necessary because they're not doing this or that. And then it whispers, your empathy is weakness. You feeling bad for those people, that's weakness. Don't do that. That's weakness. They deserve it. They're not falling into line. They are the problem. They deserve it. And that is how people get twisted. That is how promises, protections, all get twisted. Not because they want to harm, but because they stopped questioning themselves once they felt righteous. Once they felt righteous. Evil doesn't need monsters. Evil doesn't need those crazy smoke demons from our nightmares. Evil doesn't need those historical figures that we've been taught were the worst of humanity. Evil doesn't need aliens with 15 eyes and all the teeth in the universe. All it needs is people who believe that they cannot ever be wrong. What's really funny, and I want you guys to really, I'm gonna ask some questions, I'm gonna make some statements, and I want you guys to think about people around you. Okay? Whether it be in the political climate, whether it be in your life, at your job, wherever. I want you to think about some spiritual creators that you're following, because with the reset of the algorithm on TikTok, I've had some people come across my live streams that, or my For You page, that I've never seen before. I've had some videos come across my page that I've never seen before. And I have been saddened and sickened and angry, and I don't understand. Because evil doesn't need monsters. It only needs people who believe they can't ever be wrong. How many people do you know that isolate? False light isolates. It makes that circle smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it's just a few people in that circle, and then it's just down to one. Because it teaches people to draw lines so sharp, so hard, that you can't cross them. And if you do realize that you're wrong, you can't really go back across that line, can you? You start believing that you can't change, that you can't apologize, that this is who you are. False light teaches people to turn a disagreement into a betrayal. Into a betrayal. You disagree with me? That's a betrayal. You disagree with this or that I believe in? That's a betrayal. It teaches people to burn bridges with family and lifelong friends and then call that fire the truth. It teaches them to light fire to everything and watch it burn and call it the truth. And this is how families get broken. This is how communities fracture. This is how movements rot from the inside. This is how people lose faith in everything. In everything. Because when someone believes that their cause is sacred and there is no other way, they stop listening. They stop reflecting. They stop doing anything at all. They stop seeing humanity in anything or anyone that stands in their way, that disagrees with them. And what's funny is eventually they become the very force that they claim to be fighting. And that's the tragedy of all of it. That's what's really, really funny. That's the tragedy of all of it. It destroys the one that carries that false light first. And you can see it in their body. You can see it on their face. You can see it on their meat sack before anything else. Because that's a hard light to carry. A false light is an impossible light to carry. And I want you guys to think about some of the spiritual creators that you have followed over the last few years. Because we're just going to talk about that for right now. Because we could talk about all kinds of people throughout the world with this topic today. But I want you guys to just think about some of the spiritual creators that you followed, have unfollowed, followed again, whatever. How many of them have said things that were so inflammatory and then just doubled down? They didn't care. They just doubled down because they're right. They're right. They're right and you're wrong. And you know why you're wrong? Because you don't believe like they believe, or you don't agree with what they just said. The very thing that they claim to hate about organized religion, they do. The very same thing. I watch it on a daily basis. I watch it on a daily basis. How many spiritual creators have you guys paid attention to, watched, etc.? And it goes with any spiritual path, whether it be paganism, Christianity, Muslim, whatever. It goes with any spiritual path. How many people have you seen that have doubled down so much because they got a little bit of fame, a little bit of following, a little bit of clout behind them, and they're right and you're wrong? You better believe how they believe. I watch it a lot. It really makes me sad. I'm not gonna lie. I've unfollowed some people I used to absolutely love because of that. And every time I have to, it makes me really sad. Because discernment, no matter what it is, whether it's in your spiritual practice, in your political beliefs, in your life, in anything, discernment is a sacred responsibility for every one of us. It is a sacred responsibility. Discernment is not judgment. And people seem to get those two things confused because apparently they don't know how to Google definition. Discernment is not judgment. Discernment is awareness. Discernment is clarity. Discernment is looking at all aspects of a problem, looking at all aspects of an idea before making a decision, which is judgment. It's awareness. And what's really funny is when you come across people that are so intent that they are right and you are wrong if you don't agree with them, when you ask certain questions, when discernment asks certain questions, people that bear a false light get mad. They get so mad. When you ask them, does this help to reduce suffering? Or is it justifying it? Does this bring clarity to this group or this person or that person, or chaos? Does this protect life? Or demand sacrifice? Discernment requires humility. Discernment requires humility. It requires the courage to pause and say, I might be wrong. Discernment requires you to have the ability and the courage to say, I might be wrong. I am wrong. I'm sorry. Discernment requires the humility to always be learning. And right now, in your life, discernment is not optional. Because we are surrounded on a moment-to-moment basis by certainty that has not a damn shred of wisdom behind it. We are surrounded on a moment-to-moment basis by people who are certain that this is the truthest truth that ever truthed, and they have not a damn shred of wisdom behind it. Conviction with no compassion. Volume with no depth. Wisdom with false light. We see it in spiritual places all the time. I do. I see that love is preached. And when I say this next part, every one of you is going to get triggered. You ready? I see it all the time because I have a couple of different accounts on social media, and I rotate around different things because, you know, there, and even on you know, the Blue Bodhi account, I do have some pastors that I follow. I like listening to their sermons, man. There are sometimes I do just need a good Jesus kick in the ass. I do. Do I believe in Jesus as the Bible portrays him? Not quite, because of my experiences and some projects in my younger years. But I do believe the man was amazingly intelligent. I do believe the man is an ascended master, 100%. Sometimes I just need a good kick in the ass. Sometimes I need to hear, maybe I scroll into that sermon at a certain time and I hear exactly what I needed to hear to have my soul's butt kicked for a minute and get me back into high gear. Maybe I need that. But where love is preached, there's also fear. And fear is the real currency of false light. Fear is the real currency, the solid currency of false light. If you can be feared, if you can make someone live in fear, what do? They react out of fear because you are pinging that trauma response in them. So then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that their discernment is saying, you know, maybe that's not 100% correct. We see it every damn day in leaders, no matter if they're spiritual, political, whatever, in leaders who speak about unity, but then at the same time, they do the most divisive shit. They do the most divisive things. We see it in people that are activists. And that activism begins with justice, right? But it ends with cruelty. On every side. On every side. We see it in families where that control is called protection. Protection. But that harm is justified as knowing better. I know what's best for you. Let me protect you. Let that sink in. How many of you guys just got really triggered by that? In relationships where control is called protection. And all that harm that comes with that protection is justified as, I'm just trying to protect you. I know better. Let me help you. We see it in all of these different movements that start with hope. They start with hope. They start with love. They start with whatever good intent. But they end in devastation. Intent does not ever excuse the outcome. Ever. Ever. Because true light doesn't need to destroy anything to exist. And I want to go back to the example of Jesus. I want to go back to an example of Buddha. I want to go to an example of insert any Native American leader here. True light doesn't need to destroy to exist. True light doesn't silence questions. When people want to ask questions and people want to talk and people want to discuss something or someone or a cause that actually has true light and discernment behind it, is going to be happy to speak about it, happy to answer questions, happy to discuss. It doesn't demand that you blindly follow that person, that cause, that book, that whatever. And it sure as shit doesn't inflate the ego. It doesn't inflate the ego. And if you are looking for something to inflate your ego, if you're looking for a cause to join to inflate your ego, then you are in it for the wrong reasons. True light holds boundaries without any type of cruelty. Anger without any type of dehumanization. And accountability without destruction, without annihilation. True light humbles, and it listens, and it adapts, and it remembers that power is not proven or shown by how much damage you can cause or how much damage you can take. And that, unfortunately, is something we see too much in the world lately. Too much. I feel like in the last decade, power seems to only be destructive. How much damage can you cause to the other side? And I want to go back to kind of what I started talking about, why I wrote this sermon. That one single video of that one lady. She was freaking out that she was on this podcast and the creator, the podcast host wouldn't listen to her about how we needed to quit sending light out into the world. That the world was on a path to destruction and we should be just embracing it. We can't stop sending light out into the world. You can never stop sending light out into the world because darkness wants exhaustion. False light wants burnout. Darkness wants destruction. It wants you so tired that you become careless with your soul. It wants you so exhausted that you give in. And here's the thing, I'm gonna tell you guys something. And I want you to really let this sink in, okay? Because this is in every other spiritual text except the Bible. Every other one. And that is that your soul is your soul. You can't trade it, you can't give it away, nobody can take it from you. Let that sink in. Nobody. You can't give it away. You can't trade it, and no one can take it from you. It's in every other religion, except one. The one that's based in fear now. The one that stopped being based in love and is now based in fear. Because false light wants that burnout. False light wants you so tired that you believe that you can give that away, that you believe that somebody's going to take that from you. But that's false. Because real light is steady. It's not flashy. It's persistent. It builds your soul up instead of breaking it down, trying to break it down. Can you break your own soul down? Absolutely. We do it every day, all of us. And if you're broken down, then you're careless and you'll lock it away believing that it got stolen. You'll lock it away believing that you were so evil when you were younger that Satan must have your soul, or you traded it to whatever. If you lock it away, that's different, right? And then what? You need something to fill that void. False light will fill that void. I was flabbergasted by that video. I'm not going to lie. I still am this morning. Because sending light doesn't mean ignoring harm. Sending love doesn't mean ignoring damage. It doesn't mean ignoring hate. It doesn't mean bypassing accountability. It doesn't mean just ignoring all of the hate and all the negative shit. It means refusing to become the very thing that you oppose. It means choosing creation over that destruction. It means refusing to wish that suffering into existence, no matter how justified it feels. No matter who is telling you, well, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. Let that sink in a minute. It means refusing to wish suffering into existence. And how many people are currently doing that in the world right now? How many people are currently wishing suffering into existence for somebody in the world right now? So this part is kind of what I was asking myself all night while I was laying there and with my friend Insomnia. And I want you guys to ask this as well. And I want you to kind of think about it today, this week, etc. Have you gotten so certain about something, about your path in life, that it replaced your curiosity about that thing? Have you gotten so certain about your worldview, your spiritual view, your view of your dog, whatever it is, that it's replaced your curiosity? What are you no longer curious about? Where has your anger over things replaced your wisdom? Where has your anger over things lately replaced your discernment? Where has your feeling of ego and righteousness replaced compassion? Even if you feel like that other person or whatever doesn't deserve that compassion. Where have you stopped questioning yourself? Because being right felt too good to let go of. It's not about shaming anybody. It's not about making you feel bad. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 on my clock. It's about responsibility. And it's about taking responsibility back. Because too many people have let go of it. They have given it to someone else. Because the most dangerous thing that a human can ever believe is that they are incapable of causing harm. And I want you to let that sink in. We all cause harm at some point in our life to somebody, something, some space. And when you believe that you are incapable of causing harm, that is the most dangerous thing you can do. I hope that as you go forward this week, you have all the blessings of clarity over certainty. I wish for you all the blessings of humility over your ego. I wish for you all the blessings of discernment in the whole entire world that is addicted to outrage. Use your light to heal instead of to scorch. Use your truth to stand up tall without being cruel. And I want you to remember the light that destroys is not light at all, no matter what form it comes in. No matter what form it comes in. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. I'm going to make you guys a promise that I will try to do it. And you promise yourself that you will try to do it. Because the world needs it more than you realize. You have people out there wishing for the destruction of everything on a moment-to-moment basis. I want you to be the light that counteracts that.